Hi everybody, this is Brendan here with Common Motor. That's common-motor.com on the internet. And today we're going to show you how to flush out the brake fluid with some clean stuff for your vintage Honda. Brake fluid, it's got to be changed on a regular basis. And on this bike, this is our shop 550 project bike. Luckily it's back together. Knock on wood. And the fluid's a few years old in here, and we're going to change it. Now, in this video, we're talking about a brake system that is already working. So it's together, it's been working, you've been using it on your bike. We're just doing a routine fluid change on it without having to take the whole thing apart. And it's pretty easy to do with some basic tools. So we're going to jump in and actually show you the details of it. Just a little bit like that. We'll let it soak in for a few minutes and we'll come back down here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my master cylinder here, and I got a bunch of old fluid in there. And we're going to take that fluid out because we're going to actually start with new fluid in the top, and we're going to push it through the system. And as far as fluid goes, I'm just going to be using .3 brake fluid. Now this is synthetic fluid. I like synthetic fluid a little bit better than regular fluid because it doesn't decay and absorb moisture quite as much as the regular stuff does. So if you get an option to get synthetic fluid, go ahead and get some synthetic. And it's a preference over the regular stuff. But at least, you know, new brake fluid is better than old brake fluid. Before I get too involved with this, I'm going to put kind of a rag around here to help protect any paint on the bike or anywhere else, because brake fluid, if you spill any, can definitely take off the paint, and it's not good to have. And you also notice I'm wearing nitrile gloves. That is recommended. And I'm just going to take a little, this is like a little pipette here, and I'm going to siphon out the old fluid here. So it's easier to do this now to take out the old fluid than it is to try to push it through the system. There's no need to make this more complicated than it has to be. It also gives us the opportunity to kind of wipe out the inside of this reservoir of the master cylinder here, so we don't have to, so it's clean. That's pretty good there. That's pretty much all the fluid out of there. Very important not to squeeze the lever here until we actually put some fresh fluid in. I'm also going to take my diaphragm cap here, kind of flex it out, kind of wipe it down. New brake fluid. If you look inside of the reservoir here, you see a line that's kind of machined on the inside of the reservoir. That's going to be the fill line. That would mean that the brake fluid doesn't need to go over that line as far as how much fluid's in the system. All right, I'm going to put the diaphragm back on, because if I leave the diaphragm off and I squeeze the lever, it's going to want to shoot a little bit of fluid up out of the hole that transitions from the reservoir into the master cylinder. So next is we're going to go down below and we're going to bleed the caliper and push out the old fluid, which will bring the new fluid into the system. The bleeder screw has been soaking with penetrating oil for a little bit of time now, and I'm going to break it loose initially using a 6-point socket. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to get a good grip on the screw and not strip the outer sides of it. If I attempt to do this with, let's say, an open-end wrench or a box wrench, my odds of stripping the screw are pretty high because these things often get stuck. There, okay, pretty easy there. It popped loose, felt good. I'm going to just bring it back, feel it seat. Got a little fluid came out of it, that's fine. It's good, it's all good signs. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my box wrench here. I have an 8mm box wrench. I'm going to use the side that causes the box wrench to kind of point down. I'm just going to sit it on the screw, just like that. This is my high-performance vintage brake bleeder tool. Yes, it's that high-tech. I have bled many a vehicle with this exact high-performance tool right here, and I think you can build one for yourself for, you know, they're like $1 million or something like that. Anyway, Gatorade bottle, nice clear piece of vinyl tubing. Got a milk crate right here. And this is old brake fluid in here. With our clear tubing, the clear tubing is actually submerged in the fluid all the way. And I'm going to work that end on that bleeder screw. Should be a good tight fit like that. We are ready to bleed. The bleeding process is very order-based. You have to do things in a very particular way, otherwise you're going to have problems. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze my brake lever at the master cylinder. And I'm going to hold it, and I feel resistance. I'm going to crack the screw loose. You're going to see the dirty fluid come out, and it's going to be pretty dark, so pay attention to the color. That's why we use the clear tubing. There we go. All right. I'm going to take the bleeder screw and just close it, just till I feel it seat. Still holding the handle, let it go. Give it a second. It's going to fill back up. I'm going to give it another squeeze, holding the handle, open the screw. Old fluid. Close the screw, let go of the handle. So that's my order. Squeeze handle, open screw, close screw, let go of handle. Repeat. We've already squished a good bit of fluid through. You can see our diaphragm is starting to deform. That's because it's pulling down. I'm going to take the diaphragm off. And our fluid level has gone down. It's very important to check the fluid level every few pumps. We want to make sure we always have fluid in the reservoir here. If it goes dry, we have a problem, because then we start sucking air. We start pushing air into the system. So it's important to keep this topped off at all times during the flush. We're going to keep doing that same process until this fluid comes out of here looking nice and clear and clean. Squeeze, open, close. And you can see now that the fluid has really changed color. It's nice and clear. And that tells me we've gotten all new fluid through the system. I'm going to do maybe one more. Maybe another one. All right, stop there. I'm going to tighten up my bleeder screw just a little bit more. Snug. That feels great. Right there. Get my rag handy. And when I remove the bleeder line, I'm going to kind of peel it off the bleeder screw and keep the line down. It'll minimize the mess. Like that. The rest of the fluid will drain into the high performance brake bleeder tool. Last thing I'll do down here is I'll go ahead and put a cap on the bleeder screw. That's going to help keep any dirt or moisture and contaminants from getting on the inside of the screw there. So when we do this next time, it'll be just as easy. Our bleeder screw is closed, and now we're going to do our final check of the fluid level in the reservoir here. Actually, that looks pretty good. It's just a hair below the line. I might put just a small splash more in there. Our brake fluid flush is now complete. I'd recommend doing this about once a season. That's going to be a pretty good time to do it. It's also important to remember that we didn't actually separate any parts or take anything apart because the system was together and sealed, and by keeping it sealed, it made the flushing of the system a lot easier. So important to keep that in mind when you're doing this type of routine maintenance on the bike. It's going to apply to all the other Hondas too, whether it's 750, 550, 450, 360, because they all use the same basic brake setup, and this will also apply to any other bikes that have a hydraulic brake, whether front or rear. This is Brendan with Common Motor. That's common-motor.com on the internet. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and as well as on Instagram. Subscribe to our newsletter via our website, and of course, subscribe to us right here on this YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.